You're listening to Overwatch Contenders Daily, your path to daily news, scores, and insights into the Overwatch League stars of tomorrow. Here's your host, LemonKiwi.
Overwatch fans, happy Wednesday. This is Overwatch Contenders Daily and I'm your host, LemonKiwi. Today's interview, not a World Cup one this time. I've got Bazooka Puppiez support player Insomniaq here to tell me about, well, their roster formed in 4 days. They were relegated into trials last season and they're back into contenders, here to prove themselves and already having a rough week. They went against Snakes and now they're going against the British Hurricane. I'm going to ask them how they're preparing, what they're working on, and they're possibly bringing on a new coach, so some spicy stuff I'm going to be talking about. But before that, let me just cover some Contenders news, and the only Contenders news I want to talk about is that the Chinese and South American region didn't have an English broadcast before, but now they do, and that's going to be brought to you by Broadcast GG, and it's already started this week. So if you're interested in now watching South American and Chinese contenders and you only speak English, well, you should go and check out that stream at twitch.tv/broadcastgg. That's all I had to say about Contenders news. Now let's get into my interview with Jason Insomniaq Knittle. And I'm here with Jason Insomniaq Knittle, or you just know him as Insomniaq, or the support player for Bazooka Puppiez. So I'm going to start off with, well, how's it going, Insomniaq?
It's going pretty well.
You got some sleep, despite the name?
I did, actually.
Well, you got your monster ready? Everything's good?
Yeah.
All right.
Coffee's pretty gross.
I know, I feel that. I drink G Fuel and not much coffee or tea at all, but we're both awake. It's 8 here, but you're like on a US schedule, but you're on an EU team, so that must already be a struggle for you, right?
Yeah. So when the scrims start, it's usually around 6 p.m. CEST, which is noon for me.
Well, that's not too bad.
And sometimes they start at 10 a.m. for me, because sometimes we have earlier scrims.
Well, let's start about how you came onto the team. So you came around trials time, and I mean, Bazooka Puppiez in general went through like a pretty severe or major roster changes since their last Contenders participation last season, where it wasn't so hot. But tell me about how you came onto the team and about these roster changes and what you guys have today.
Right. So Bazooka Puppiez pretty much did a complete rebuild, because after the season 1, the roster completely disbanded. So for the entire period of like open division time and the rebuilding of teams that are already in contenders was going on, nobody was doing anything with the Bazooka Puppiez slot. Mete just had it under control and didn't really do anything. About 4 days before the Trials roster lock, Mete decided he didn't want to let the Bazooka Puppiez slot die. He wanted to give people who he thought deserved contenders a chance to play. So he gave the slot to our manager, Kekbondi. Kekbondi had previous experience putting together a high European open division team called Big Nice. Big Nice was considered a pretty good open team. Like, they're very much expected to make it into trials, but the team ended up getting poached for other teams. I was actually a consistent ringer for that team, and because of that, Kekbondi ended up approaching me with an offer to play in trials with Bazooka Puppiez.
And then, so you got on the team, and then the rest of the roster was picked up by Kekbondi?
The rest of the roster was either scouted out from also other players from Big Nice, such as Hypnot, Morsi, and other players from Ladder, Mirror, Ladder player, but also actually he did play on Big Nice for a bit, but he ended up leaving. We looked into open division teams and teams that were playing in Pit that didn't make Contenders Trials, and we found KSP. Tonic was still a free agent, and we approached him with an offer to play in Contenders Trials, and he accepted. and we found Awkward in also playing in Beaten Pit, and he was on Snakes, but they ended up replacing him with Kodak, so we picked him up, and that's how the roster came together in about less than 4 days.
Yeah, you were telling me like 4 days to have this roster ready for trials, and that's kind of a stressful time. It's, your last chance to get into contenders unless you guys were to somehow be poached individually. But so how stressful was that to kind of piece apart or to kind of build that synergy based off of 4 days?
It was honestly pretty rough. The team had a really hard schedule to work around, mostly based off of me. Because I'm NA, I still had a job with an NA schedule. So working on an NA schedule in the mornings for me overlaps scrim time. So I was only available for the latest block, 21 to 23 CEST. That was the only times that we were really able to scrim. So essentially throughout the entire Contenders trials, Bazooka Puppiez plugged our way through.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I was looking at your roster, and you guys are pretty international. Like, what? KSP's from UK. Like, you're from NA. Is it Mete? Mete is from Germany. Trispier's from Netherlands. Tonic is from Russia. You guys are, like, from all over the place. So, scrimming is probably pretty difficult, as you said, and probably the ping is just as bad.
Yeah, I play on 120 ping. And a newer roster addition that we have added, and that we have another American player. He's a hit scan, and he plays on 120 ping. His name's Sit.
Oh, yeah.
Tonic plays from Siberia, in Russia, and he has 130 ping.
Wow.
He's actually 11 hours ahead of my time zone.
That's crazy. And you guys pick, what'd you say, 21 CEST, and that probably falls into all kinds of times for them too, right?
It's actually pretty convenient for most of the German or UK, Netherlands players. It's like a normal time for them.
And you mentioned KSP was like a pickup, and now that he got picked up for Team UK, is that like hard to even fit him in the scrim schedule, or is he, because he's scrimming for Team UK, or is he pretty dedicated to Contenders scrims?
KSP was actually very dedicated towards the Contenders scrims. Hardly missed any scrim blocks at all, except very early on. We actually ended up scrimming Team UK a lot.
Oh, cool.
So it was Bazooka Puppiez versus Team UK tryouts, and he was popping off in those scrims, so it definitely gave him a lot of recognition off of that.
Probably you guys too. I mean, I just interviewed them, and they were scouting the whole community. It looks like you guys all know each other very well, at least in the UK. Well, you're from US, but they were scouting.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Maybe you'll get poached for another EU team very far away.
Maybe.
But let's start with now going into contenders this season. So Bazooka Puppiez not starting off so hot in the first week. You guys lost to Snakes, and which was a very good team in trials, so give them lots of credit there. But tell me what went wrong during that series.
I don't think we were very prepared for the roster changes that they did. Compared to in trials, they actually played with Facility.
Mm-hmm.
And once they made it into Contenders, Facility got poached from them, and they ended up adding Zapri. So they added a really aggressive and strong Tracer player to their roster, and our team wasn't prepared to play against it, which I think maybe if we played them again, now that we've made certain changes and adjusted our active roster on certain maps, utilizing our entire 7-man, although we have 8-man, but we're using 7 of our players now, I think we would have stood a better chance against them.
And what about playing something like Brigida or going more Pharah projectile type of comps? Do you think that would be enough? Or do you need to just counter a good Tracer with an aggressive Tracer of your own?
So I think it's a mix. I think in some instances you can counter a Tracer with your own Tracer, and you can just have them mirror each other, or just duel. Like the Tracers could just duel each other, and then it'll relieve pressure off the backline, which is typically, I think, what a lot of people would do before Bridget was enabled, or you could just swap to Bridget. Which in our match, we tried mirroring our Tracer more than swapping Bridget, which we should have gone Bridget, but we tried mirroring Tracer with a projectile player on Tracer, which now with a bit of map adjustment and putting in a very strong Tracer player sit on certain maps, I think it'll go much smoother.
So you're still integrating like your substitutes and still probably figuring out your core roster because you guys haven't been together that long, but at least you got that chance to go to Contenders and to keep the dream going despite all these pieces coming together within a few days. But later on today, but after your scrims and your very busy day, you're going against the British Hurricane, which is a pretty scary name in the EU community. So how is your team preparing to go against them, and who is the biggest threat to watch on their team?
We're preparing to face them with a new coach that we've actually added to the roster but haven't announced yet.
Oh, spicy.
So for the last 2 weeks, we've been working with a new coach from NA who'd prefer not to have his name released at the moment.
Well, I'll let you guys release your leaks when you're ready, but new coach coming in, so that's exciting. Some strategies coming in, right?
So at the moment, we're trying to become less of a pug team and work more as a team, and hoping that our coach can help us achieve that.
So what are you working to improve on? Besides synergy, what is he going to bring to your team?
He definitely brings in a new perspective on the game because, for the most part, very early on, our team is just 100% reliant on our mechanics and very little strategy. That's just how a pug team works. As for us facing Hurricane, I think I'm mostly afraid of their tank line, but I still think we might have a shot at beating them because Young and Beautiful was able to beat them.
Yeah, that was kind of a surprise to everybody. What did British Hurricane go undefeated or almost undefeated last season, and then they start off their week 0-1. So they seem more beatable to you after Young and Beautiful won that.
I always go in with the attitude that everyone's beatable. So
right, that's a good attitude to have. Stay positive going into your match, right?
Yeah, even us going against a, British Hurricane as a trials team, realistically, we have nothing to lose and everything to gain if we win.
Well, I hope your match goes well, and we'll get to maybe catch you on later on in Contenders and see how you've developed as a team. Excited to hear about this new coach, but you came through trials, right? And there's actually quite a few open division teams that made it through trials with you, including, we got 1 point, we have Org, and you've already faced Snakes. So what do you think of the open division teams? Do you think they have what it takes to make it to playoffs and pretty far in playoffs?
I think some of them do have a chance of making it to online playoffs. I'm not sure if they'd make it to LAN because I think the top end of Contenders definitely has a lot of time together, like teams such as Giganti and Sis Hope, Hurricane. They have a lot of time together and a lot of just tournament experience and practice as compared to some of these this new upcoming talent from Open Division.
Yeah, it's tough, like vanquishing that top 4, and it kind of leads me into my next question of, do you still think British Hurricane will be number 1 this season, or do you think a new team will come and take that crown?
I don't want to add any BM, but no bad manners, no bad manners whatsoever. But it would be quite interesting to see Giganti take it.
And why do you think that?
Just from experience of playing against them. Although we haven't really scrimmed Hurricane at all because they're in our group. They're in our group, so you don't want to show strats.
Oh, I thought you'd want to maybe get to know what they're doing. So you guys are both coming in pretty fresh into this match.
You both have to hide your strats so you don't scrim people from your group unless you already play them.
Oh, well, I learned that today. I've always heard people always scrim all the teams in the community. So you pretty much, I guess you have VODs to watch from British Hurricane, and they probably have some actually, Trials wasn't broadcasted, so you're more in the secretive side then.
That's true.
So you guys, new team, and well, are you ready for the British Hurricane quad tank? Is that, I don't know if they're gonna bring it out this season, but are you ready for it?
We're ready for it, but we're also not expecting it. So it's kind of whatever happens, but we have a plan in place for it.
So you guys are more playing reactively than proactively coming into this match?
I wouldn't say that.
So you guys are ready. Like, you got some strategies, you got some stuff
So
up your
like
sleeve.
we have our rollouts, but we know what we need to change to if they're playing a certain comp.
Well, I'm so excited to see what your secret hidden coach is going to be coming in and what experience he has and what he'll be helping piece together. And I'm sure, like, even if you have this rough 1 or 2 weeks, you still got plenty of more to go and plenty of more time for your team to grow together and to come out with new stuff, right?
Yeah, I agree. Contenders is a long regular season. So even if we end up going 0-2 in the first 2 weeks, we definitely can come back and make it into online playoffs and maybe even land.
Ooh, I'm so excited to hear. And I wish you luck in your British Hurricane match. I mean, I hope you're going to be more confident going into that match. I know they're scary, but who knows what British Hurricane are up to after they lost to Young and Beautiful. Maybe that was just an off week, or maybe there's something else going on. But I just want to thank you so much for coming on to this interview, Insomniaq.
Hey, no problem.
Well, thanks for coming on, and that was Overwatch Contenders Daily, everybody. Happy Wednesday, and we'll see you guys next week.